Hey, scientist. Welcome back today. Today we're going to continue our work that we started yesterday. And remember, yesterday we talked about the different parts of a lesson. And so today we're going to focus more on what does that look and sound like in the science classroom. But before we get started with that, I wanted to share with you just a couple things. I wanted to share with you a virtual classroom that I have set up for you. And there are some links on this virtual classroom. So you're going to hear me say often that I want you to stay curious. And as a scientist, when we stay curious, we observe, we wonder, and we learn. And one of the best ways to do that is to use our magnifier. And so this year you will be getting a science kit to have at home. And let me grab mine real quick. Hold on just a second. So in your science kit, one of the things that you're going to have at home to use is a magnifier. This one's actually a clear one, where in the picture it's kind of a black one. But the magnifier is used by scientists every day. So that's why I wanted to make sure you had one at home that you can use to look at things more carefully. Just a couple things about this page, and you'll get a bag, and it's going to have one of those in there, plus some things that you're going to need for the upcoming lessons. So up here is a link to BrainPop Junior. That's a great place for scientists to go and learn more information. This is called Generation Genius, and it is a website that we'll be using this year, and you can click on that and get to Generation Genius. Mystery Doug. And Mystery Science, two things that we'll use this year, two websites that we'll use. And Mystery Doug lets students send in questions, and then Doug answers them. And then Study Jams is another excellent place to go for some science information. You can barely see this right here, but if you ever need to email me, there's my email on the laptop. And then, of course, an owl shows up here with Miss Colson. And the reason the owl is there is because O for observe, W for wonder, and L for learn. And when we get to school, you're going to see that in our science classroom, we have owls everywhere. And that's the reason, just to remind us that we want to O, observe, W, wonder, L, learn. And of course, that spells owl. And then up here in my classroom is just a little reminder of always be kind. And then up here is my family that I like to think about when I'm working at school. So let's move on to what's next. So once again, just want to remind you that we always want to involve science with our life and never stop wondering or questioning. Scientists observe, wonder, and investigate. The best way to learn science is to do science. And you may not be able to see that last word, but the best scientists do science, but then also they do learn science by reading. So back to what we were talking about yesterday. What do we want science to look like in our virtual classroom? Also, when we get back to school, which hopefully that will be at the end of September, what does it look like in the classroom? We will always have in our lesson the target, activating schema, the mini lesson, guided practice, independent practice, reflection, and assessment. So I gave you a little bit of homework last night to just be thinking about science in our classroom. So I have a sheet for all of my 3 science classes, Mrs. Colson's class, Mrs. Kaffenberger's class, and Miss Scanlon's class. And so today, when we meet on our Zoom meet, this is what I want you to be ready to share. What will it look like in our classroom when we're talking about the target, and what will it sound like? And sometimes the best way to think about what it should look like and sound like is to think of what shouldn't it look like or sound like. For instance, if we were talking about the hallway and a hallway expectation, we know that it might look like boys and girls standing in the hall. For right now, we're going to be about 6 feet apart unless we have on our mask. What does it sound like? Well, usually it sounds very quiet in the hallway. But what does it not look like or sound like? Well, I guess you guys could probably think about maybe last year and the expectations your third grade teachers had. We know that it would not sound really noisy in the hallway because there's other classes learning. And we know that it would not look like maybe we were at a party. It wouldn't be that we were running around in the hallway or jumping up and down. We would be standing in our line a good distance apart from each other. And so that is what it would not look like. It would not look like a party, and it would not be really loud. So as we work today, I want you to think, what does it look like and sound like? And then sometimes even it helps us to think of what that does not look like. So we'll get to work in just a few minutes. Let's go back over here for a second. And then at the end of our lesson today, you're going to show what you know by clicking on Miss Colson here, and that's going to take you to an exit ticket. So let me go back just for a second to that other slide. On our slides each day, if we have something we need to do, I'm going to be putting it somewhere where you can get to it. So for instance, I just clicked on the I because what does it look like? And that took us out to what we are going to work on today, this. But then when I come back over to here and we get to the reflection part, it says click on Miss Colson to get your exit ticket. So when I click this, it would take me to the exit ticket and what I would need to do there. So when we are having an exit ticket or a quiz, the first question is always going to ask you to type in your name, just so I make sure I know who gave me these wonderful answers. And then today we've got procedures and expectations. At the end of our lesson, I'm going to ask you to answer a couple questions here on the exit ticket. The first one is it okay to skip the mini lesson and go straight to the exit ticket? Think about that for a few minutes. And then how do you feel about science? Do you love it? Do you think it's hard? Just want you to tell me what you feel about science. And keep in mind, there's no right or wrong answer because this is how you feel. And then so I can get some ideas of things you're wanting to learn about this year. What is one thing you might want to learn in science this year? And we'll do that at the end of our lesson today. So just wanted to show you where that was and how to get there. And we're going to be teaching you also when you come, when you're with us on the Zoom meets. When we have something to submit, of course, we're just going to click up here to send and send that right to either Mrs. Colson, if it's a science question, Miss Kay if it's a math question, or Miss Scanlon if it's a reading question. So let's go back over to our Google Slides. So we are going to meet again at our Zoom meet. And remember, at our Zoom meet, we're going to talk about these things. So just be thinking, what does our science class look like and sound like, and what would it not look like or sound like? Okay, so I'll see you at the Zoom meet. And when we meet, we'll talk about the target, the schema, the mini lesson, the guided practice, the independent practice, and the reflection and assessment. So see you soon.